Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's Damon. I hope everything's well on your hand. Usually, I wouldn't do this. It would be a list, but I felt like doing a little bit of rant in terms of I've seen Survivor Series, 2025 Survivor Series, and I gotta say, I wasn't impressed by it. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad pay-per-view. It wasn't King of the Ring 1995. Many people are overrating it in terms of badness, but it wasn't impressive. And truth be told, I don't think a lot of wrestling events in terms of WWE or AEW have been impressive this year. None. AEW wants to stack the cards 5 hours of 17 match, including six on the pre-shows. It's a more is more. More is too much. And you have WWE that's not even less is more, it's less is less. WWE, it's going to the point people think, oh, it's just Survivor Series, it's four match. This year alone, Royal Rumble at four match. Last year as well. You think, I would think at least if I was booking a Rumble, I would at least have the two world titles and the two women's titles being defended and then the Rumble match. You could easily do that, but it's not happening. And you can say it's Paul Levesque, Triple H, and saying that basically lost not his smile but his motivation. He didn't. People wanted Triple H from Black and Gold NXT. You got him, and you got his formula as well, with everything, every nuts and bolts that you had about it. Here's a problem with this. He didn't adapt his formula. For him, if it ain't broke, just don't fix it. But the thing is, while it wasn't broke, it wasn't outstanding. It just was pretty good. It worked better in NXT because it's for 20, 25 people. So it works. But when you have a roster that's really big like WWE's roster, why have four match pay-per-views? And if you're gonna do this, don't do it at the big four pay-per-views. Do it for the in your house. Which gets me to my next rant about it. My next other gripe is why five matches? I feel like we're back in the in your house 95, 96 territory, but you know what? In your house, it was just like it was 2 hours pay-per-views. So if you're gonna be 2 hours pay-per-views, fine, keep the same formula. But if not, if it's 4 hours, you're ripping off your fans, especially when you increase the price. At least in your house back in the 1990s, Vince McMahon had a good sense of, hey, it's gonna cost less. So I'm not gonna say quality. I still prefer WB in terms of quality, but let's be honest, WB is not doing great either right now. TNA is doing a bit better, but even then, they're doing a bit better. Not greatly better, a bit better. Still, AEW to me, it's everybody doing their own stuff. And from what I've gathered, even for Survivor Series, like it's not Survivor Series anymore. I mean, in terms of who does Paul Levesque thinks he is? Since he took over, there's no for the last 4 years, there's no elimination match at Survivor Series. The only Survivor Series elimination match that he had, that basically you think it'd be at the Survivor Series match, Survivor Series event, because Survivor Series elimination match, he put it on SmackDown before Survivor Series. Who does that? A stubborn mule like Triple H, who doesn't understand that, quite frankly, he's not booking like NXT, he's booking like NWA Clash of Champions. But even WCW, through all their faults, knew basically that if you're gonna do this, call it a Clash of Champions. Don't call it a pay-per-view. That's why it didn't feel like War Games, it felt like Clash of Champions. Except he rather than just turn every supposed in your house pay-per-view like this, he's turning every pay-per-view that's not WrestleMania or SummerSlam into in your house. Man, I get you don't want to have 12 matches show. I get that. But big time pay-per-view should have, if it's one night, should be 10 matches. And the only exception should be the Rumble, which should be 6 matches, the two world title matches, heavyweight title match, the WWE title match, the world heavyweight title match, the world women's title match, and the women's title match from SmackDown, and then the Rumbles. And if you want you put a match in the pre-show, you put a tag title matches. See? It's not that tough. I get you don't want to put grudges match on that show, but still, I mean, what is it with Triple H? It's like it's impossible for him to just adapt from his formula. It's going to the point where I feel like something gets over. It's like, good idea. We'll talk about it in 5 pay-per-views because I already booked for basically my approach for 5 matches pay-per-views for next while. Run and just added it to the pay-per-view. And there goes my problem with everybody in terms of some wrestling fans, or at least some extremists on both sides, WWE booking and AEW booking. Not every match needs to be 20 minutes. One of my favorite WrestleManias of all time, WrestleMania 5. Was every match great? No. Some sucked. But they weren't afraid that this match might suck. They didn't say, you know what? That defines that wrestler. Because he had a bad performance at WrestleMania 5, therefore it's a bad wrestler ever. No, this match needed to be short, and it was. I mean, Heart Foundation versus Rhythm and Blues and that event was pretty good, but wasn't long. Didn't need to be. But imagine if you said, well, Bret Hart is a sucky wrestler because he only wrestled 7 minutes that match, I think. So what? Didn't need to be. And I think that excess mentality goes into movies as well. We make movies longer than what it needs to be. Now we're trying to learn that maybe movies that are 100 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes, or 45 minutes is better than a movie that's going to blow it up to the 2 hours, 40 minutes. Because you're not thinking that maybe people don't care for 2 hours, 40 minutes. Maybe you're not even thinking that people sometimes don't use a car and use public transit to go home from a movie. They think about that. They maybe think that you're overcompensating for something. In terms of wrestling, it's harder for me to watch anything that's not a YouTube videos if it's not old-time wrestling. Why? I think I said in one of the videos I hate when people do finishers and rather than pin the cut or if you have to do another move on the wrestler, like get them up by the basically by the head, basically, and the person have to sell like they can't even stand. No, they just roll them over. If somebody's out and knocked out because of wrestling moves, they're not supposed to be able to roll over. You're exposing the business. You're being a dumbass. And if it was 2010, those same wrestlers would probably insult the wrestling fans, but it's like, be better at your craft. God. And I don't mind having a war games every Survivor Series. I have no problem. But it's Survivor Series, not as be right now. I don't even think it's Survivor Series. Just to call it War Games, be done with it. It's not even Fall Brawl. At least for Fall Brawl WWE, there was a reason for the War Games match. Now there's none. Like, give me a reason why there should be a War Games. Because every time that year, because Triple H somehow, some way, hey, you know what? Gets, you know, he likes NWA late 80s the NWA, so everything has to be NWA. For all the talks that Paul Levesque and Vince are different, there's a lot of things that are same. Vince was so ashamed of wrestling, he tried sports entertainment. Triple H seems to be so ashamed of sports entertainment, he wants to go to NWA wrestling. Why can't I just call it be a just middle? And Tony Khan is no better before anybody asks. Tony Khan is far from better. He's the guy who says, yes, carte blanche on everything, please. Which means that a lot of people in WB or AEW in both sides, they keep reusing the same moves. I mean, everybody's using a damn cutter. Javon Evans, Cody, Sol Ruka. And I'm just thinking, what does Randy Orton think of all that? Until he retires, it should be his move. Like, pick another move. Anyway, that made me realize in terms of Survivor, I know it's a long-winded rant, but it's like, there's nothing that original. And to be told, there's nobody that unique anymore. And the one that you think are unique, you try to basically up them so up that they're great, when in reality they're just pretty good. I really like Roman Reigns now, but to hear that after wrestling years of wrestling, 5, 6 match a year, he's supposed to maybe win the Rumble, going on to WrestleMania to be in the world title scene, even if it's not the B title, but the world title makes me want to barf. He had a 4 year long reign. He shouldn't touch a world title for a long time, supposedly because he realized he might not like Hollywood. It's like cool. Isn't it one of the time that Triple H would say, yeah, but then the plans for right now, maybe for next year. If anything, and this is where I'm going to book a bit of WrestleMania, what I think it should be, not what it'll be, but what it should be. I think it's Sami Zayn's time to win. I mean, they put him as an underdog. Basically, like they book him like Daniel Bryan, not really winning, but getting lots of popularity. And after the storyline of the last year saying he knows he can be a champion, he knows he has to what it takes. And the fact that Drew McIntyre kept mentioning over a year that Sami Zayn never beat Drew McIntyre one-on-one. And I thought it's a picture perfect. It's like storyline writes itself. You could easily have Drew McIntyre win the world title, the WWE title at the Royal Rumble. You can have Sami Zayn win the Rumble, and you can have Sami Zayn finally beat Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 42 to win the title in the main event of WrestleMania. That's not hard. It happened like this. And as far as the world title, what would Damon do? You know what would Damon do? I'll tell you this. It wouldn't be Roman Reigns. It wouldn't even be CM Punk because neither would be in the title scene. Actually, CM Punk could be world champion. It wouldn't be Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker, I think, needs to be in one of the big four matches of WrestleMania. And so should Roman Reigns, but not for a title. Braun Breaker needs to win against Roman Reigns clean before he wins the world title. That's my point of view. And I think actually will be more productive so that when he goes to SummerSlam, this is when he wins it. I would have him win the world title at SummerSlam 2026. Who would win at WrestleMania? I would make it, honestly, this is where I'm going to book it. I would keep CM Punk as world champion, but you know who would go on to win the Elimination Chamber? Either AJ Styles or LA Knight. And you got a fantastic story in all of this. CM Punk basically has wants another go at AJ Styles. It's AJ's last WrestleMania. If he retires next year, it's the last time he does. You don't have to have him win like Cena, but at least be in a world title scene. Because honestly, just being tag team champions is a waste of his time. But you have LA Knight. And in that match, whether it's AJ or LA that wins the world title, I think it's win-win. Plus, there's a great thing about the other WrestleMania. Sometimes you would watch a WrestleMania next year, whoever was the world title scenes were different, and the one that main evented last year were in the one of the big four matches, but weren't main evented. I mean, for example, WrestleMania 8, Savage was Flair, and basically the IC title scene was Piper, Bret Hart. You also had a big match at Hogan Sid, and you had Taker Jake. Look at the next year, the following year. You had Bret defending the WWE title against Yokozuna, Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez. You had Shawn Michaels in the IC title scene. You had Lex Luger versus Mr. Perfect. You had different people. Now, WrestleMania 9 is a sucky WrestleMania, but the point, you get my point. It's like, I want somebody different. Not the same old with the big four matches. So that will be my main events. Like, basically, my main event. And you would have Cody versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Cody's already been in WrestleMania 39, 40, in two main events, and 41. You don't need to have him in more than four main events in a row. You have him to be a big match for WrestleMania. I get you, but it doesn't need the main event. Here's your big four for WrestleMania 42 should be WWE title. You should have Drew McIntyre defending the WWE title against the Royal Rumble winner Sami Zayn, and you can have it main event. Drew gets his main event. He loses, but he's champion while he is. Sami Zayn gets his big moment. Finally, he's established champion. The world title scene, CM Punk versus AJ Styles, a reminder of their Ring of Honor rivalry versus LA Knight, which basically adds a Ring of Honor / TNA side to this. So yeah, a bit of difference there. So it's be Ring of Honor, AEW, TNA in the world title match. You have Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, teacher versus student. In that match, you can have Randy Orton. If he has to leave, he leaves. If he doesn't, doesn't. You have Braun Breaker beat the breaks of Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's your four big matches. As for the World Women's title match, not Liv Morgan's back, I don't know, but I've done Rhea Ripley versus Stephanie Vaquer for the world title. If you want to add Liv Morgan, you're free to go at it. As far as the women's title scene is, it'd be Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. So now that Liv Morgan's, that means to me, Bianca would win another Elimination Chamber match because I don't want repeat winners at for the Royal Rumble. I would have either Stephanie Vaquer win or Liv Morgan win the Rumble. Whichever isn't the women's champion at that time because Rhea Ripley wouldn't be. And yeah, that'd be the big matches. The six big matches you can have for the women's IC title. This would be a fatal four-way match because honestly, I don't want neither. I want none of those ladies to be off the show. I would have. Oh, and by the way, I would make sure that seeing the women's U.S. title be unified with the would be unified with the women's title at WrestleMania. So Bianca Belair would win the women's U.S. title before WrestleMania and will face Jade Cargill. So in the end, she doesn't even need to win Elimination Chamber. You know what? I would have either Rhea Ripley win the Elimination Chamber and Stephanie Vaquer or Liv Morgan, whoever is in the women's world champion, win the Rumble. So see, that solve each other out. So, Because the women's US title is barely defended, barely on pay-per-view anyway. But the women's IC title, it be defended in a fatal four-way, or better yet, an elimination match, whichever you prefer. But it'd be Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee versus Asuka versus Io Sky. Kairi Sane, honestly, is overrated and she's becoming a bit unsafe, in my opinion. She contributed to Liv Morgan and Zoe Stark's injuries, and if it was anybody, if it was Ryback or Goldberg, you'd be RP on that person, and it's unfair that people don't use the same energy on Kairi Sane or anybody else. For the IC title, I would make it a multi-man match, and honestly, I put it as a ladder match. I would have whoever's a champion. In this case, I would say Dominic Mysterio, but there's something that tells me maybe not. I got a better direction for Dominic Mysterio. I would have him lose it to. I'm trying to see what kind of lose it to. You can have now that Penta's injured. I would have said Penta, but if he's not in there, I think okay, he could lose it to. Yeah, I'm really trying to see who he's going to lose it to in the roster. Uh, anyway, I don't know who would be a champion, but there'd be Sheamus in that match. There'd be Dragon Lee. There'd be who else? Dragon Lee. Just thinking of the roster. Uh, Dragon Lee. You can have uh Bronson Reed and others, and you would have Sheamus finally win the big one at WrestleMania. The U.S. title match. I want to have Miz in this because I think Miz, it's you might not like him, but the one thing he does deserve is a WrestleMania every year. And I put him here in the U.S. title match with Carmel Reyes, uh, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ilya Dragunov, and Aleister Black, Damian Priest, and that would be a six-way scramble elimination match. And I would actually have Aleister Black win the U.S. title. The damn U.S. title should have been winning before. And then you have the tag titles. What would I do? On Raw, the tag titles, I would have the New Day regain the title and defend against either Motor City Machine Guns or Street Profits. And whoever the New Day faces, they win. Whoever the New Day faces of, the New Day will lose the title to whichever team gets drafted there. And on SmackDown, you have the Wyatts versus the Bloodline versus DIY versus Fraxium. And honestly, I don't really care who would win. I just know it'd be a title change. And the women's tag title match, women's tag title match, you got Charlotte and Alexa, because I really like that tag team. You have Lyra, Bailey, which other team there were? There'd be those two. I would add another team. I would add Chelsea Green and Alba Fire because I think it'd be criminal if there wouldn't be. And maybe I like Mia Yim, so put Mia Yim and maybe Maxine and Nia Jax and others. Put a gauntlet match for the women's tag titles. So yeah, I do know. I look at this, it'd be around 8, 9 matches, just title matches. That would mean, by definition, that these 5 matches aren't title matches. So like I said, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, Braun Breaker versus Roman Reigns. What other match I would? Oh yeah, Chris Jericho's coming back and he's trying to retire. What if Chris Jericho versus Logan Paul? People are retiring on Jericho, have him face Logan Paul. That's the reason why I didn't put Dominic in any US Ice Title matches. I wanted to lose it, and I wanted to tease a face turn. That's right. I want him to tease a face turn. I want him to because everybody that's been kicked off of the Judgment Day have been kicked off based on the order they joined. The first one to be kicked off is the actual leader, Edge. Second was Damian Priest. Afterwards, Rhea Ripley. Who else joined this? You had Finn Balor and you have Dominic Mysterio. So I don't know which one of the two. You could have Finn Balor get kicked off and be a face, or you could have Dominic being kicked off. But here's the thing. I feel like if he gets ambushed by the Judgment Day, it's one thing if Dominic in storyline gets beaten up or get his ass kicked by somebody else. But what if it's the entire group mugging? This is where I think the father instinct of Rey Mysterio comes in and he saves Ray. He saves his dad. He saves his brother. Sorry, he saves his son. And you can have Liv Morgan not liking where it goes to, and she stays by Dominic's side, and it leads to WrestleMania, which would be basically a six-person tag between Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, and Liv Morgan versus Roxanne Perez, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough. But the one person who refuse to mug anybody is Raquel Rodriguez, and she's a special guest referee. And of course, whoever wins is basically will be Raquel will align with them. So she might stay heel, she might be a face, but whatever. That'd be this. And what other match? I'm trying to see what else I'm missing. Oh, Jey Uso, the modern day Road Dogg Jesse James. And I like Road Dogg. I like him. He was funny, but I remember in 99 they had no business beating Owen Hart fair and square in a match. No business whatsoever. And yet they did. He wasn't great in the ring, but was horrible, was just okay. And I think that's what Jey Uso is. A perfect division of bad, but just okay. But you know what? At least Road Dogg has had a move set that nobody else used. He had those punches, his hilarious dancing knee drop, and he had a great falling pump and no slam. What does Jey has? A super kick that he rips off from Shawn Michaels and just about everybody, a spear that everybody uses, and a splash that he took from his dad. There's nothing original about Jey Uso, and the Yeet thing is just hilariously stupid. What's different from him than PN News? You know what? At least PN News made me laugh. Jey Uso makes me feel like everybody's IQ went down really drastically fast. But you know what? Let's have him team up with his brother and Jacob Fatu against the rest of the bloodline or anybody else. And I don't know. I haven't picked up another match, but I think that should be it right now. So I'll just refresh basically for everybody else's opinion. That would be my matches. I'm going to recap to be more current. It'd be for my WrestleMania stays will be Drew McIntyre defend WWE title against Royal Rumble 2026 men's Rumble winner be Sami Zayn. You'd have for the World Heavyweight title CM Punk defending against both AJ Styles and LA Knight. Both I would actually have co-winners of the Elimination Chamber in 2026. You would have, for the women's title, you'd have unification match between women's champion, and women's U.S. champion. Jade Cargill defending the women's champion, WB women's champion, defending against the WB women's United States champion, Bianca Belair. You would have, for the World Women's Championship, you would have, in a triple threat match, you would have Stephanie Becker, who could be the world champion, I don't know. You can have her being the defending women's world champion, that's fine. Or Liv Morgan. However, whoever doesn't win, whoever isn't the world champion between Stephanie Becker and Liv Morgan should win the Rumble, and who should win the Women's Elimination Championship? The Women's Elimination Chamber match should be Rhea Ripley. And you have Cody Rhodes taking on Randy Orton, and you have Roman Reigns taking on Braun Breaker. So yeah, that will be this. And first, basically 6 of the big match for the IC title match. You would have Sheamus versus Bronson Reed. If he doesn't have another match, that is. That would mention it later on. Sheamus and Bronson Reed versus Dragon Lee versus a lot of mid-carders from Raw, which includes, Chad Gable. One way or another, it's Sheamus winning the title. U.S. title. You have Miz, Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, Aleister Black, Damian Priest. I'm just trying who else could fit that role. And it would still lead one way or another. It's like I'm maybe thinking Carmelo Hayes or Aleister Black should win. Now you get for the women's IC title match will be Becky Lynch, AJ Lee, Io Sky, and Asuka. So that will leave the tag titles: the New Day versus either Motor City Machine Guns or Street Profits. And on SmackDown will be Bloodline Wyatt's, either Street Profits or uh, Mercy Machine Guns, whichever is on draft. And you have also either DUI or Fraxium. Okay. I will put Phoenix, Ray Phoenix in the U.S. title match. And then for a women's tag title match will be just a gauntlet with Charlotte Flair, Alexa versus Bailey and Lyra Valkyria versus Maxine Natalia versus Mia Yim and Macy B-Fab versus Nia Jackson Lash Legend versus Chelsea Green and Abba Fire. You could have that. And then for the other matches, for the matches that are left, because I think I count right now, it'd be at least 10. You could have basically match like Ray versus and Dominic and Liv versus Finn and JD and Roxanne Perez, with Raquel being either the enforcer or referee. You would have Logan Paul facing off against a returning Chris Jericho. You could have even like if Seth Rollins come back to WrestleMania, Seth Rollins pitted against Bronson Reed or Austin Theory. You could have Seth Rollins versus Austin Theory. That's actually better. You keep Bronson Reed in the U.S. Ice title match. You have Seth Rollins versus Austin Theory for taking over this. And what was the other one that would put? And you have the Uzos and Jacob Fatu against the MFTs, and that'd be it. And you have John Cena headlining the Hall of Fame. You could have Demolition part of the Hall of Fame finally. You could have Rick Martel and you have Stephanie McMahon. How about that? That'd be my WrestleMania. But that's also the half the rent. But the rent of WB is I see Survivor Series, I see Paul Levesque being really lazy. It's not the fact he doesn't have passion. He has passion for the product, but it's lazy. It's like he thinks that the same formulas to the most minute atom that it worked in that worked in NXT works in the main roster, and it did at first because it worked because everybody was tired of Vince method that any approach that's not Vince and I just competent works. And his approach is very competent. No problem about that. But it's competent, but I feel like after a while it just becomes more the same. So yeah, I feel like Royal Rumble should not be or Royal Rumble Survivor Series. The fact that it's 4 matches and none of them are Survivor Series match or Survivor Series elimination match, he should be ashamed of it. Because I feel like a guy was ashamed of the Survivor Series gimmick. I look forward to this. Hell, I would love for this to be Survivor Series 1990 again and basically have an Ultimate Survivor match at the end. And whoever wins that match, guy, whether for the man or for the women's, end up challenging for their brand's top title, the Royal Rumble. Give something at the end for it. And if it's more than one person, well, it's going to be a multi-person match. You know? I just think that if anything, any adjective I would use to describe Triple H is not competent, but inflexible, rigid. Tony Khan would probably add another match to the last, and sometimes it's good, but it's like sometimes when it's 14 matches, like cut some matches. There's unrestrained and there's too much restraint. WB is too much restrained, the other one's unrestrained. I want something in between. And I could say, sometimes they're planned in advance. I mean, Christopher Nolan, when he owned the Dark Knight scripts, or Dark Knight trilogy scripts, yeah, he preferred it in advance. And basically he's a treasure. He's a movie treasure. I mean, I look forward to the Odyssey movie, and I'm not really interested in those type of movies, but I would be interested because Christopher Nolan. But not everybody does the same thing, same time. Everybody remembers Dumb and Dumber. The ending wasn't supposed to be that way. The original ending was just a happy-go-lucky ending. Basically, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels had to fight for that ending. Look what happened. And a bit of movie magic that happened spontaneously. I mean, if we listen to Triple H logic, I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark wouldn't have had the brilliant scene of Indiana Jones shooting the swordman's out of nowhere. You probably say, "Now skip the script." No, it actually works better there. Why would he basically go through all the hoops? Which also in wrestling is why would a wrestler try to outdo a guy who's an high flyer by high flying when he doesn't need to? I mean, I'm just tired of everybody have the sameness. I can't understand why Bret Hart thinks it's boring. And I know I'm all over the place in that brand, apart from the WrestleMania thing, but it's like, hey, please. understand where I'm coming from. I like wrestling. I'm not gonna say it's the worst year ever with some people. This is just one of the it's one of the most years ever. Okay, nothing really happens. And we're just gonna diminish the number of matches there is. If you're gonna do this, Triple H, make it an in your house and make it 2 hours. If not, it's not a thing of, oh, it's cinema, it's just bad planning. Okay, it's like a person who's gonna do a student is gonna do an expose was gonna do basically a presentation in class and they don't have enough material. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna talk as slowly as possible because I want to make the time go. That's how I feel Triple H does business at times. Like, you just want to do this or whatever. It's like you're just trying to do this. And it doesn't work like this. Again, I like WWE and I like most of the booking, but sometimes it's just asinine the way they do business. Survivor Series that was bookended by two War Games match isn't a problem by itself. It's the fact that you take away two other matches, that's all there is. What's next, Triple H? Two matches of pay-per-view? And I'll give you you can, WB and AW can do whatever they want in my comments, but here's my perfect idea. A perfect number of match per pay-per-view. If it's not the main pay-per-views, no, the four pay-per-views, put it eight. Eight's enough. Not the sitcom title. Eight is enough. If it's a big time pay-per-view, make it 10. Honest, Survivor Series doesn't need to be this as long as those are elimination matches. If it's an elimination match, make it 6 matches or 5 matches. I get it. But if not, 10. If not, you cannot. And if you're really, really feeling like this, then put it on across 2 nights. Then, if you really feel like this, then do 2 nights of it, dog. Because it's a waste of everybody's time when you don't want to put Survivor Series match on a Survivor Series pay-per-view. What's next? Money in the Bank match or just one of your matches and there's no Money in the Bank match? It's going to be on SmackDown beforehand? Maybe that's the point why to me was the straw that broke the camel's back to hear that a match that's titled after pay-per-view isn't on pay-per-view. What's next? The Royal Rumble is going to be on Raw? And you wonder why people are unhappy? And yeah, it's doing good business. I believe it'll continue doing good business despite itself. But one of those days it won't. And then what? And let's not say, oh, NW is going to scoop it up. No, they're not. NW is already getting down there. And yeah, they're getting good business in terms of money. But after a while, people will say, you know what? I'm going somewhere else. Other streaming channels get good business, or so they say, until they don't. Some movies said they had good box office, until they don't. And you realize they might have a good box office, but the amount of spending they do is atrocious. I mean, Superman 2025, people, it got some money, but it wasn't a great success. It just happened to be a mild hit when it needed to be an home run. So maybe my rant goes all over the place, but I think not just wrestling, but I think entertainment really needs to up their game and rethink their approach that basically, more expensive isn't necessarily better. Your box office, basically your budget for a movie doesn't need to be high. Beetlejuice got 4 or 5 times their budget with a low budget because Tim Burton prefers practical effects and it works. Not every movie needs to be $250 million. Conversely, in terms of wrestling, not every show you need to basically have to price it out of the range of normal families. That's disgusting. And not every show should have only 4 matches, but all 4 matches are like 40 minutes long. No, they don't. No, they don't. Just like no, not because you have episodes on Netflix that they need to be like an hour 40 minutes each. That's a movie. Just make it a normal show. Just make it compelling. And all the thing is for both fans, it feels like insecurity. AEW seems to have become overcompensated by giving you too much, like saying, "Oh, we're scared that you're not gonna like some of the matches." And WWE, it's like, "I don't care if you like this, you're gonna watch it anyway." And I think it should be a just middle. I know, like, make it a buffet, make it some different style for different people. Not, I love the cruiserweights in WCW, but I don't want a show just of cruiserweights. That's what it feels like. WCW had restraints. WWE at their peak had some restraint. Not every match need to be this. And while I think that the Raw's War from 1998, 99 was a thing of the of the times back then. Nowadays, you could watch it. A lot of things can go really age badly, or it's like, I don't need 2 minute matches. You don't need 2 minute matches, but you can have a 6, 7 matches, not 6, 7 minutes matches with 8 matches on the show, and that's fine. Because honestly, it doesn't give me a motivation to watch a pay-per-view if every match, every show you're trying to have to outdo your pay-per-view and actually are better than your pay-per-view. Not pay-per-view, PLE. Who cares? It's the same thing. So I'm gonna end this rant of saying WWE do better. I already outlined what I think should be your WrestleMania card, and I don't think it would be a bad thing. You have the Royal Rumble, CM Punk against Braun Breaker, and Braun Breaker is about to win, doesn't win the title, but he doesn't win lose because of himself. He loses because Roman Reigns causes him big time, and Braun Breaker comes back and throws out Roman Reigns later on the Rumble. You can have Drew McIntyre win the W title win the W title at the Royal Rumble against Cody Rhodes, but this time does it fair and square, and Cody becomes delusioned. You can have Stephanie Vaquer against Liv Morgan, and whoever wins the title doesn't matter. The loser inserts herself in the Rumble and wins. You can have the women's title match with Jade Cargill against Charlotte, and Jade wins. And you have the Rumbles, like I said, Stephanie or Liv wins the Rumble, Sami Zayn wins the Rumble. I already booked you this. I already basically booked you the Elimination Chamber. For the men's, you have AJ Styles and LA pin each other to win the Elimination Chamber. You have Bianca Belair win the US title in that card against Chelsea Green, and you have Rhea Ripley win the Elimination Chamber in that show. And I booked you to WrestleMania. 3 months, I already booked your shows. Oh, I forgot. And one match I forgot to add for WrestleMania. You have Brock Lesnar versus Gunther, and Gunther wins. See, I had the last match. I forgot about it. Sorry, guys, but that's what I would do. But even then, everybody will be booked. Everybody will be most happy. And that's it. But here's my message. Do better, because 4 match per pay-per-view isn't an excuse. It's not just lazy. It's insulting. It's insulting to your fan base, insulting to your viewers. It means basically you don't care about this. And if you're gonna make 4 matches, make it the gimmick. Make it, in this case, it's Survivor Series. Make it Survivor Series match. Make one War Games match. And if you need to have 4 matches only, make 2 elimination matches. Make one War Game match and make a Survivor Series War Game match. Make a first ever in which it's War Games, and you can't eliminate anybody at first until all 10 people on the ring are in the cage. And when the 10 people are in the cage, they can eliminate each other. How about that? How about that for a slice of fried gold? I hope you guys get that movie reference. Okay. But anyway, I'm gonna stop it there because I'm just repeating myself. Later, guys. Bye.